I was just scrolling on Craigslist, found this ginormous 6-foot behemoth of a coffee cart, and a buddy of mine had a truck. I was like, hey, I'm on the corner of this street and this street. Come pick me up. I just bought a coffee cart.
What if he didn't come? Were you going to have to roll it home, or how? Hey everyone, welcome back to the FlashQuotes podcast. As Daniel likes to say, the number one podcast in coffee catering and all things event rentals and mobile service businesses. So it's a long title, but that's the subtitle for our podcast now. We're joined today by Colin at Howdy Coffee. Colin is a coffee entrepreneur running a coffee cart business in Portland, a FlashQuotes user and someone we've gotten to connect with recently. So wanted to have him on the pod to kind of share his story. So welcome, Colin.
Thanks for having me, Zach and Justin. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'd love to just start by hearing, Colin, kind of your story of how you got into coffee and what made you start, how long you've been running Howdy Coffee, when you got into it, and how this journey all began for you.
Yeah, so I've been a barista since 2018. Moved up the ranks very quickly, working through various coffee shops in the Portland metro area. See baristing, coffee managing, roasting. I've just about every aspect in a cafe operation I've done it. Worked in one coffee shop in particular that stuck out to me because they operated multiple coffee carts as well as having like 4 brick and mortar coffee locations. Obviously, naturally, when they asked me if I want to work an event, I was like, oh, this is a good break in the day to day and it seems cool. So I figured I'd give it a shot, and I honestly fell in love with it and it never left my brain. This was my second ever coffee shop that I worked at. Oh, fast forward to 2020, working at a great shop. They ended up closing due to the pandemic. So I kind of felt myself at a crossroads. My wife and I had always dreamed of opening our own brick and mortar coffee shop because that is a very common end goal with people like owning and operating coffee carts. We're like, well, how can we start this and get that like low barrier to entry? And so we're like, well, how about a coffee cart? And fast forward like 6 months later, I was just scrolling on Craigslist, found this ginormous 6-foot behemoth of a coffee cart that's this lady was selling for like $200, and a buddy of mine had a truck. I was like, hey, I'm on the corner of this street and this street. Come pick me up. I just bought a coffee cart.
What if he didn't come? Were you going to have to roll it home, or how?
In all honesty, then I was living in a 3rd floor apartment in the middle of the city. So there was no way I was going to be able to roll that all the way because we're on the edge of town buying this coffee cart. But thankfully, this guy always comes in clutch for me when I needed a lift. Yeah.
So how did you move the cart to your first event? Did you end up having to rent a trailer, or how did you start handling that?
Yeah, so we factored in U-Haul costs in in the whole like pricing of our initial structure. Yeah, I installed a tow hitch on my Subaru Crosstrek and
Love it.
pulled a U-Haul trailer with it. It was great.
Love that. That's very similar to me. I installed a towing hitch on my 1999 Toyota Camry for my first coffee carts.
Well, and what people thought it was just this like grand thing that I had a trailer, and it's like U-Haul's $14.99 for the day.
Yeah.
Like it's cheap for a 4x7. That's all you really need.
So
yeah.
So how were these initial people starting to find you? Because we really find that, okay, anybody can buy a cart, buy an espresso machine, plumb it in, but getting found and actually booking real events is where the rubber meets the road and where a lot of people can have a disconnect. So how were some of these early clients finding you?
All word of mouth. 100% word of mouth. It was basically, I had a friend that had a coffee cart, and if he couldn't do a certain event, because he was very strictly religious, so he didn't operate on Saturdays or Sundays. So anytime someone reached out to him asking for a Saturday or Sunday, I was like, I can't do it, but I know someone who can. And unfortunately for me, that wasn't that often, just because it was, what's the word? Yeah, I think I did like 5 or 6 events in my first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so year one, let's go through a timeline. Year one, was this 2021, your first year?
2021 was my first year in operation, yes.
Okay. So 2021, you did about 4 or 5 events. 2022, what was your event count at?
50.
Okay. Whoa. Huge jump. Okay. That's incredible. We're gonna double back and talk about all this. So from 5, 10x'd it to like 50 in 2022, 2023.
About the same, 50
Okay, so maybe
roughly.
plateaued a tiny bit. 2024.
2024, we jumped up to 105.
Okay, whoa, very cool. So doubled it, and then so that's 2024, and on 2025 so far, what are you on track for, or what sort of growth have you seen so far?
2025, I've been booking a lot of uh large events. So like multiple day, it could still be the exact same number amount of events, but it's the
Revenue is
actual
great.
cost of the revenue is a lot higher.
Okay, cool.
But I'm still on track for 200 to 250 events this year.
Whoa, incredible. So, whoa, so that first year, what changed from year one to year two, going from 5, which is like just barely just kind of some side cash, right? Helps you maybe get nicer birthday gifts, go out for a couple extra nice dinners, but is not really anything else
Exactly.
than just some spending money. And then the year after, 50 events, now we're talking like, okay, someone could make a living and potentially quit their job. Were you working other jobs at that time?
Yes, I was from quit my full-time job in spring of 2024.
Really, really recent then, or I guess a year ago.
Yeah, it'll be April 30th is 1 year.
Wow. Congrats. I mean, that's such a huge milestone. That's a huge milestone to reach and a really big turning point. So then you were employed full time during this entire coffee cart journey up until about a year ago.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was just basically me saving, obviously, because low barrier entry didn't have any money to start up with. So my wife was like, you need to have this much money saved up and basically be able to pay yourself for 6 months before I'll let you quit your job.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, a smart business woman, really.
She's great with money. I lovingly call her my CFO.
That's cool. So you save that up, 2022, 23, kind of maintain that 50 event count. And that maybe feels like, were you capped out because you had a full-time job? You didn't really have the bandwidth to be working more than that. Were you turning events down, or you just didn't have the lead volume to be able to support more?
So I didn't have the lead volume to support more. I was only turning down events if it was a double booking, because obviously there's some of the more like popular dates of the year. But yeah, I was turning down events. I was working Monday through Friday pretty much all day. So anytime during the week, if I didn't have any like time off available, then I just told them no. So I was basically only working weekends.
So when was the point where you brought on, maybe fast forward to now, like I believe do you have a couple carts and maybe, a few baristas working, or what's your current setup, and how did you kind of get to the point where it wasn't just based on your availability to go serve the event?
Yeah, obviously my availability skyrocketed the day I quit my job.
Yep.
I literally put my 2 weeks notice in, and that ended the day before I had 3 events in one day.
Whoa.
Because I was like, I need to. I was able to make it work with just me, one cart, make 3 events happen in one day. That was great. But yeah, so now we're sitting at 3 carts, and I've got uh six staff.
Incredible. And that's all of that. Like, when did you add your second cart, and how's like the staff and cart growth been? Because we talked about event count, but when did you start adding those additional carts and staff?
So we got cart number 2 on in November of 2024.
Okay.
And cart
So
number
that's
3 is actually very recent, as
okay.
of a month ago.
Okay. So what systems, what was happening behind the scenes? What systems were you using, like for your lead intake, for invoicing, to help with logistics, staffing? Because obviously now you're a FlashQuotes user, but prior to FlashQuotes, what was your software stack and behind the scenes?
Yeah, my software that I was using for lead intake was through Squarespace. It was one of their forms that, it was good. I tried to keep it to a minimum of information. I would always just gather the information later. And for invoicing and booking and payments, I was using Square.
Okay. Super common. Like we see so many people switch from a stack just like that to FlashQuotes. And that's functional for sure when you're first starting out.
How did you hear about FlashQuotes, and what made you interested in checking it out?
Justin somehow got a hold of my email address
Yep. I'll find
and
you.
wouldn't he the boy would not let go. He would not let go of me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the persistence.
Yeah. Justin's a great sales guy because he'll just check in like every couple months, like, hey, it seems like your business is doing good. I think you still need what we have, and he never gets discouraged by getting ignored, ghosted, deleted, told to stop talking to me. He just keeps going. So props to Justin.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and I really, if you've all have listened to any other podcasts where I've maybe talked or been a guest, like, that I preach that too for coffee catering business owners, that like you need to follow up
Follow
with
up.
your
Yeah.
leads. You should call, text, and email them. So, I'm just trying to be out here practicing what I preach on the flash
Exactly.
side.
And it works. It works. You're like basically every tip and trick you've given me about following up with clients has been positive and has had a positive impact on my growth for sure.
Awesome. So what have you seen? Like you've been using FlashQuotes for it's been a few months now, right? Or I forget exactly how long.
Since the end of January.
Okay. Okay. So end of January, only about February, March, April. Yeah. So 2.5 months of February, March. Yeah. Uh, what have you seen so far? What has been your experience with FlashQuotes as far as, has it saved you time? Has it helped you get more leads and bookings? What are the things you love most about it so far?
As so far, I love the UI. Like I love the user interface from my end as well as from the customer end. It's just a gorgeous looking widget addition. So one, it's pleasing to the eye. I've actually gotten compliments on it, like from bookings. They're like, "I love your booking form," which I'm like, I was not expecting. You
Yeah, you
know,
don't hear that about a form very often.
the woman at the bank, yeah, the woman at the bank was like, "Oh, I love your booking form." Like it was so
Yeah.
easy.
Great.
Most of the time, sometimes they're like, "Oh, it's so easy to book you," you know. And I think yeah, just the ease of everything has been phenomenal.
So how long does it take you when you see a lead come in? Like, can you talk through what that process is like for you? From, okay, you see a new lead comes in, what happens next?
So lead comes in, I immediately hop on it unless it's like midnight, which I have gotten those, then it's the next morning. If you submit reasonably, I'll get to you within 20-30 minutes. As soon as the email comes through, I send them their quote, then they immediately get an email from me basically saying, "Hey, thank you so much for filling out this form." I add on to the hero message in Flash Quotes via a separate email, be like, "Hey, if you have any questions, here's my personal cell, here's my email. You can reach out whenever you need."
And how long does it take you to build and send out a quote?
Well, with the instant pricing that you guys just released, absolutely love it. Now I can send quotes within 5 minutes of receiving them.
Yeah. So it
Because I
takes,
do have a pretty rigid price structure to keep consistency across the board.
yeah. Cool. So you send out the quote and then you can do that within minutes or less, right? Because of course, I know this. I know how easy it is to send quotes, but for listeners
Uh-huh.
out there who maybe aren't current users, like your entire quote is basically pre-built for you. You just verify it and then click send right there and it goes out really, really fast.
Pretty much. It's ridiculously easy. If you've got your pricing on lock, you can send a quote in like a flash, literally. You
Yeah.
know,
Cool.
Pun intended. Yeah. How do you think
pun very much intended.
how do you think about pricing? Because I think that's a lot of questions that one of the common questions we get from people trying to just get started is like, I don't know how much to charge for this. We have some thoughts on it, but I'm curious how you arrive. It sounds like you've got your pricing really dialed in and you're confident in it. So how did you arrive at that, and how do you think about pricing?
I mean, I price everything hourly, and that's everything included. Basically, I know how many drinks I can serve per hour. I know how much each drink costs to purchase and to make. Like, I know how much I'm worth, personally, and then I factor all that into a one lump sum hourly rate.
That. I mean, with something like coffee carts, I'm such a believer in that. I love what you said there. You know, your cost of goods, your labor cost. And with something like a coffee cart, if you rent it out once, it's rented out. So it can be a dangerous game to overly rely on guest count, and not have any built-in protections, because then you might book a 4-hour service for 20 guests for X amount, and then now you can't sell the 4-hour service to 200 guests. And so when your core service resource is rented out, you lose any future capability to rent it on that day and time. So I'm with you. I think that hourly rate is really reflective of, this is an extremely limited resource that I don't care if I serve 20 people or 200 people, the price is the same because I can't sell this again once it's sold on a given date.
Exactly. And I always reiterate to customers that headcount is more of I use that as a tool to let them know how many hours of coffee service they should have.
Yep.
Not necessarily, I'm going to like, oh, you have 80 people at your event. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's going to be this much based on your head count. I'm like, 80 people. Oh, I could do one cart with one barista for 2 hours, and that's going to be your best value
Yep.
because I can serve about 50 to 60 drinks an hour.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Can you share some stories just from the trenches? I love to hear a nitty-gritty, startup story where something went wrong, you had a challenge that you overcame, or a difficulty where you really learned a powerful lesson from. And it can be whatever, forgotten equipment, a challenging and uncomfortable client interaction, but just something along those lines.
Yeah, one of my very, very first events, a beloved client of mine, she was like, "Hey, I want you to come set up shop in my retail boutique and just serve coffees for a couple hours. We're having our anniversary party." Great. I have the big behemoth, like 6 foot, like we're talking a 4 foot deep countertop, 6 feet wide without wings open. Like we're talking a huge sucker now.
Big boy.
It's a big boy, really. My wife and I lovingly call this car Big Bertha because it's obviously fitting. It weighed 600 pounds, for
Gosh.
crying out loud. But it was built well, so it was fine. We roll up to this space. Car doesn't fit in the front door. So this one's pretty easy because I obviously had extension cables. We were totally prepared, but I did have to serve coffee in the rain because I still did it.
So no umbrella, no overhead covering. You're just out there getting drizzled on and just slinging lattes.
Yeah, thankfully it was a light drizzle, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that one was a little bit of a lesson, being like, "Hey, we have this giant cart. Can we fit through your door?"
Yeah. That's awesome.
Another quick one. This is pretty recent. I was working at another regular client of mine. It's like a co-working space, and I was not expressing to the client my power needs. So I pull up and I was in a different spot than usual, and they plugged me in, and I kept flipping breakers left and right. So then I was like, what kind of like breaker are you putting me on? They're like, oh, it's shared with like a dishwasher, like in a kitchen. And I'm like, oh, cool. I need now I'm like, tell my clients, I need a dedicated circuit, 15 to 20 amps would be perfect.
It's funny. We have the default FlashQuotes booking form, and obviously, you can configure that. But we have a lot of questions in there from Justin's experience. Every question in there probably is learned from some failed service or some mistake, right? Like, we need you to acknowledge how much space the cart takes up. We need you to acknowledge how much power the cart needs, because all those things are, yeah. Seems like every caterer has to learn those lessons the hard way at some point.
One that kind of surprised me, because I thought, we're doing thousands of events a year. Like, we've seen it all, we've experienced it all. And then we had this one that I had not really experienced, which was, and this was for like a high-end jewelry or something client, something like that. They only gave us 2-prong outlets, and we cannot serve with a 2-prong outlet without an adapter. So we updated our form just like you, Colin. We say, dedicated 15 amp circuit, but we added dedicated 15 amp 3-prong circuit in 120 volts just to cover, all those bases. Because because they were really upset, by the way. It wasn't our fault. Like, it's kind of your fault, your landlord's fault. You're not providing us like the core stuff we need, but it doesn't really even matter because they were so upset. Like we have to figure something out. So that was a new one we added, verifying that it's a
Uh-huh.
3-prong outlet on a dedicated 15 amp circuit. So
Yeah, that's hopefully you were able to turn that around and go to Ace Hardware or something and pick up a adapter.
we did, but not before some people got sad. So,
Yeah.
we learn for the future. So you're growing, and with that comes challenges. How are you feeling now? You're sending out baristas, or rather, are you sending out baristas to work these events from start to finish, full equipment transport, setup, service, breakdown, unload, restock? Like how autonomous is your staff right now, and how much do you do versus how much they do to make a successful event happen?
Yeah, I'm still an integral part in making the event successful. I do all the packing and I do all the cleanup at the end, just because I still want something to do. But yeah, it's as easy as I've got all the equipment. I have the cart broken down. I have a 3-tote system for all of my stuff. I've got, everything. It fits on top of the cart, broken down on the floor, and Risa can just come in, open my garage, get all the stuff, scoop ice into a cooler, and take off. Yeah, pretty. I try to make it as simple as possible.
Yep. That's so important, especially when you have multiple events a day, 2, 3 events a day. It's so critical. Have you ever had forgotten equipment?
I mean, I've forgotten like the ice scoop for my cooler before.
Okay.
My wife, bless her heart, it's on my checklist twice now because of her.
Nice. Yeah, I guess, I didn't tend to forget stuff as much when I was packing, but, baristas definitely have forgotten stuff
Yeah.
here and there.
The very first event that I sent a barista to completely on their own, they they forgot towels.
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
Yeah, and he texted me and I was like, "Oh, no." I was like, "Okay, just go to the bathroom and get paper towels. It'll be fine."
Yep.
But he didn't go through the list as, like, critically as he should have. 'Cause it's like I literally told them, I was like, "Hey, go through this checklist to make sure I didn't forget anything,
Yep.
because 'cause I'm the one packing, and I'm a human too, so I'll forget stuff."
Yep.
And, yeah, look at that, I did. I definitely forgot stuff.
That's Yeah, we've done that too. We in more circumstances than I'd like to admit, especially if a barista is far away too, like 40 minutes, like we can't get them anything, but maybe we can DoorDash them something and it'll be there in 30 minutes and they won't have to leave and we can make service happen until then. And we've definitely done that where we're door dashing. I think we've door dashed towels or door dashed. So if you're in a large metro area and you're really in a pickle, and even if you're an owner operator, by the way, like if you would have to leave and drive 30 to 60 minutes round trip to go get something, and it's like a common grocery store item, DoorDash it. Just send them right to you. If in little trick for the, hopefully you don't need it, but if you ever find yourself in a pinch.
Exactly. And yeah, I never even thought about doing DoorDash just because, like, I have forgotten stuff like ingredients, like chai. I've forgotten that before. That could have easily been DoorDashed, but instead I just called my wife and made her get mad at me for packing up the kid and bringing me chai.
Whatever works, works. It sounds like you had Wife Dash, which is a little more expensive, I think, than DoorDash in some cases.
It's a lot more. It's incrementally more expensive.
Yeah. So you're on a pretty crazy growth path, like Justin said. I'm curious to hear about the future and your vision for Howdy. What are you hoping to accomplish this year? Where do you see the business going in the coming years? Are you still thinking coffee shop someday, or just building your catering empire? What's the
Yeah, the coffee shop dream is long gone, man. Seeing the success that I had in 2024, I'm riding the wave till it
Okay?
crashes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hopefully it doesn't crash.
I think
Hopefully
it's
the
just
co-
growing. Yeah.
I know. Hopefully the coffee cart market just keeps going up and up and up.
Mm,
But yeah. So goal for this year is to completely step away from doing events entirely
It's
and
huge.
just sitting back and focusing on sales.
on the
Yeah,
business, not in the business.
Exactly. Which I think that will come a lot easier now because I have staff. And my wife and I are expecting our second kid in November. I think I told you guys that already. So I will basically be forced to kind of take a step back.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So what challenges do you expect or are you experiencing now as you make that transition from like owner operator to less of an operator and more, more of an owner?
Staffing availability.
Yeah.
Like I literally, y'all should have put out the podcast on hiring good people maybe like 3 weeks ago when I was hiring. Which, hey,
Just missed it.
there's nothing wrong with the staff that I have. They just
Mhm.
there's like a couple of events that are coming up in a couple weeks that I need people for, and no one has like chimed in or picked up the shift on Connect Team. So it's kind of like, okay, and I'm just waiting. Hopefully, I don't have to like call in a favor.
Yeah. That's stressful. Well, did you enjoy that podcast episode though? Did that give you some
It's really good.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
One thing I will say that we do start escalating because I know that's one of the most stressful things in my opinion as a events business owner. You've booked an event, you're contracted, and you got to pull this off one way or another, and no one is applying, no one's saying they want to work it. Like I can't work it. Like it may be you may need 3 baristas for it. Of course, you could fill one slot or more, but you can't fill them all. What are you going to do here? That's a tough one. We definitely kind of have a specific protocol that we follow when we're really in a pinch. Our dream at Goodheart is to never be in a pinch. We strive to minimize these pinches, but when we still find ourselves in them, especially during busy season, and what we do is, just like you, we first step one is post that shift to your staffing software. We may then reach out directly and text those baristas and say, hey, we have this event. Here's the shift start and end time. It's going to be this type of event. Should be really cool and fun. So first we just try to give them the logistics and sell it. It's going to be, if it's for a cool client, tell them it's going to be for a cool client. If it's at a cool venue, tell them that. So we try to sell it just on that emotional level. If we're still struggling to staff it, we will tell them if it has a pre-tip. Normally, we never tell baristas that it has a pre-tip to start because, otherwise then baristas may become selective. And if they see the pre-tip, then they're only ever applying for events that have a, pre-tipped amount on them. So we never share that unless we need to use it kind of as a tool. Like, oh, by the way, like it's a really cool event and there's a generous pre-tip on it. Like, please just go and apply to work it if you're available and interested. And then if we're starting to get real desperate, we may put like a, last minute staffing bonus on it. Hey, like just a reminder, this is going to be a cool event. It's got this pre-tip. We're also going to throw in a $75 last minute staffing bonus on it. So that's kind of our escalation. And only at that point, if we've gone through all of our staffing and, sweetening the deal escalations, do we then, okay, well, what do we have to do here? Okay, can someone else work a double? Like this is an evening event and someone else is coming off their morning event. Oh, and we know this person would be down to work a double. Maybe we can finesse it some other way. There's a lot of, it's the most stressful game of Tetris imaginable to play this
seriously.
Tetris, but those are, take those as you will. Those have been some helpful tips and tricks for us to get our events staffed, but it's tough. I definitely feel that pain a lot.
Yeah, one thing that I've done is obviously I'm at this event, this current one in specific that I'm having trouble staffing. And I even told them, I was like, hey, you can just show up to the venue.
That's
I'll
huge.
have everything there for you.
That is huge. That's a great way to do it. I love that.
So instead of it being a 7-hour shift, pick up, go set up, break down, bring it back, it's just 2 hours. Just show up, serve coffee, go home.
That's huge. I love that. I love that. I even one time for one of the biggest events we would do every year, same thing. I was looking for staffing and it was like a week or so out. I printed out these flyers and went around to like 8 to 10 coffee shops around Denver. And I felt awkward. So I ordered a drink at every single one of them. and then I would talk to the barista and be like, hey, $23 an hour plus tips. Like, here's this little brochure. I don't know if you have any baristas who might be interested in doing an event thing. That was the most desperate I think I ever was. But man, there's lots you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good feeling. I think you're gonna get it covered.
I'm sure. I've got a couple of like buddies that I can call personal favors on.
Cool.
No issue.
One thing I want to cover, because for the listeners out there, if you've listened to a good number of podcasts I've been a part of, you've probably heard that I am not the largest personal fan of GS3s for catering. They're the best single group machine
Go.
that monies can buy, but I
Mm-hmm.
have thought they're challenging for catering. But Colin has a bit of a hot take here. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, Justin, you're wrong, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I even had one of my baristas come back from an event. Like, he used to own his own coffee catering company over at Bozeman, Montana. Had a Linea Mini. Came back carrying the GS3 and was like, "Man, this is so much easier to carry than that Linea Mini." I'm like, "Bro, you should tell that to my software guy."
Yeah, so I guess it just requires a specific technique, and if you hold it with like the legs facing like where the drip tray goes, if that's facing away from you and you just kind of grab underneath the rails there,
You
apparently
hug the
it's
back of it.
okay. But that doesn't reduce the weight or make it cheaper, does it?
No, it doesn't. But auto volumetrics, I'm siding with Valor Coffee on this one. Auto volumetrics is the way.
Yeah. It
It
is.
leads to less wasted product. It leads to ease of use and training baristas. Like, you're you're gonna save money in the long run with an AV machine over a manual machine, I feel.
Yeah.
And I know so many carts out there that swear by the GS3 like I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Olive Coffee Cart in Dallas, they only use GS3s, and they're coffee nerds just like we are, so
Yeah.
they know what's up to.
Well, you heard it here second or first even, I don't know. You heard it here. We've got a contrarian view on it. I also, by the way, so strongly believe in people making whatever choice they want with their machines. You've got to take what I say with a grain of salt. But that was an interesting perspective, and the first person who gave me like logistical reasons, because my reasons for not using it were logistical. It's too heavy and too hard to carry, and I just had never heard anyone give a nice rebuttal that's like, actually, if you carry it the right way, it's totally manageable and actually easier. And so that was you're the first person who I think I'd heard that from, because I definitely got the case of like, yeah, this is clearly the best machine from like a shot quality perspective, but look, there's a lot more than shot quality that goes into just serving events. So
I want to
Exactly.
hold
And
like
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want to hold like a FlashQuotes like Olympics where like you guys race carrying these machines around and see who can get set up faster.
Well, see, Justin's a fitness boy. Like, he's probably faster than I am
no,
in
I'm
all
soft now.
aspects.
I'm a desk jockey now. I'm a soft white collar desk jockey. I'm flabby after my years behind the desk.
Either way, that'd be good for the YouTube channel to have the GS3 versus the Linea people
That would be,
No,
compete somehow.
I'll let Justin use his
yeah,
machines that he
His
uses.
Bianca, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Lelites.
Well, that would be wild. Like, a national coffee cart Olympics, like cart setup, shop pulling.
I mean, we could probably talk to someone about organizing that.
Yeah,
There's a coffee cart cooperative or like a group in Denver where you are, Justin.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Caram Sela Coffee.
Yep,
He's got a
yeah.
Yeah, he's got a group of people that meet up, I think, 2 times a year. They all fly in to Denver to like hang out and like talk shop and stuff.
Maybe
I was
that's
like,
where it begins, the coffee cart Olympics.
and they use GS3s. So,
Not all of them.
no, I know.
Cool. Colin, I would love to hear, can you address those people out there who are maybe on the fence, like, considering flash quotes or don't know much about flash quotes? Why could it be beneficial for their business?
Yeah, not only from a just from an ease of use perspective. I mean, FlashQuotes is jam packed full of features, like, and they are all worth your time. Like, going from making it easier to get leads, because customers really love simplicity. You know, you can go to checklists for your employees, you know, scheduling shifts, all that stuff can be done on FlashQuotes and making your entire business more streamlined, essentially. And yeah, not only from the ease of use, it also you can program it to send emails for you, you know, so you don't have to be sitting behind your computer automatically, you know, like manually following up with every single lead that you get. Let FlashQuotes take care of that for you. You know, you just tell it what to do and it'll do it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's great to chat with you. Any final, closing comments, anything else we should add before we wrap it up?
Obviously, thank you, Justin, for literally you sign up with FlashQuotes, you get this guy, you get Justin Goodhart, the man, you know, one of the the owner of one of the biggest coffee catering operations in, I'd say, North America. You got him at your disposal, man. Like that's all I should really say is he will get you where you want to be. He will give you all the tips and tricks in the book.
That's, I love to hear that, Colin. We're super invested in the success of FlashQuotes users, and we want to create that feeling for all of them of like, you will have hopefully like other coffee cart users in FlashQuotes. We do have an amazing school community, but we want to be complete open books to share with you the knowledge of the community we have here at FlashQuotes, and of course our direct knowledge from years in the business. And I love hearing you say that, because that is such an important goal of ours, is to feel like, hey, we are like, we're on your team, we're on your side, we're invested in your success. So that makes me really happy. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you want us to succeed so you can succeed. It's that simple, you know. You put your effort in to help us all out because you're going to get, you're going to see something out of it. And you're going to get more rad testimonials like this and Michael's and Jenna's and like everyone out there that's
Yep.
just crushing it out there in the coffee game, you
Yep.
know.
100%. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Colin. I'm super excited to see how Howdy Coffee continues to grow in 2025. Hopefully sooner rather than later, we find ourselves in the same city and we can hang and drink a cortado or something. And I look forward to getting to meet you at some point in person.
Too. Yeah. Can't wait. Subscribe to the FlashQuotes podcast.
Yeah, thanks. We always forget to say that.
I watch every single one of the episodes. I take away something valuable every time.
It's so cool.
If you own a coffee cart, subscribe to the FlashQuotes podcast, even if you don't want to use the software.
All right. Heard it here, folks. Subscribe,
but use
share.
the software.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one.